The Democratic Republic of the Congo, a land of unparalleled natural wealth, home to vast reserves of cobalt, copper, and diamonds. Yet, for decades, it has been plagued by conflict, poverty, and instability. Amidst these challenges, non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, have stepped in, promising aid, development, and hope. But behind the humanitarian facade lies a darker reality, one of exploitation, corruption, and mismanagement. In this documentary, we'll uncover how some NGOs, alongside USAID, have exploited the DRC's vulnerabilities for financial gain. We'll spotlight key organizations, examine their funding, and reveal how their actions often fail to benefit the very people they claim to serve. From healthcare to humanitarian aid, these organizations operate under the guise of charity. But are they truly helping the Congolese people? Or are they perpetuating a cycle of dependency and exploitation? Let's dive in. The DRC is home to thousands of NGOs, many funded by international donors like USAID. These organizations claim to address critical issues, healthcare, education, and food security. But their presence has not always translated into tangible progress. What happens when aid becomes a business? USAID, the largest bilateral donor to the DRC, has poured billions into the country. In 2023 alone, USAID allocated $935 million to programs like food security and malaria prevention. Yet corruption and mismanagement have often diverted these funds away from their intended purposes. The USAID, the U.S. government's aid arm, is the DRC's largest donor. In 2024, 70% of the DRC's $1.3 billion humanitarian budget came from the U.S. But where does the money go? Critics argue funds often bypass local communities, flowing to U.S. contractors and pet projects, like a $1.5 million diversity initiative in Serbia, while Congolese hospitals lack basic supplies. In 2019, the UN reported widespread corruption in aid delivery, with millions lost to fraud. A 2018 review found NGOs and UN agencies in the DRC exposed to systemic corruption, including diversion of supplies meant for Ebola victims. Meanwhile, aid workers' salaries often dwarf local wages, fueling resentment. While these organizations tout their successes, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Let's take a closer look at some of the major players. First, ACTED, a French humanitarian organization active in the DRC since 2003. ACTED focuses on emergency response and governance, but critics argue its programs often align with donor interests rather than local needs. Next, Action Against Hunger. This NGO has been in the DRC since 1987, addressing malnutrition in healthcare. Yet, allegations of mismanagement and lack of transparency have raised questions about its effectiveness. Next, we turn to PACT International, a development NGO heavily funded by USAID and other international donors. PACT International promises to transform communities through infrastructural development and educational programs. Yet, investigative reports have revealed unsettling discrepancies. Billions in donor money intended for public projects are, in some cases, diverted into excessive administrative costs and questionable contracts. The result is a cycle of dependency, where local communities see little long-term benefit, while the organization's administrative coffers swell. Finally, we examine Congo Care International, a relatively new player in the field that claims to bridge healthcare and community development. Despite its promising mission, Congo Care has been dogged by allegations of financial mismanagement. Reports from watchdog groups suggest that funds earmarked for essential services in mining areas have been diverted, used instead to secure lucrative contracts and partnerships that primarily benefit the organization's leadership. These irregularities raise urgent questions about whose interests are truly being served. Finally, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, is renowned globally for its humanitarian work. In the DRC, MSF has been a critical provider of emergency medical care, often venturing into the most remote and conflict-ridden areas. However, in mining regions where multinational corporations extract vital minerals like cobalt and copper, MSF has faced criticism. Detractors argue that while the organization is busy treating the symptoms, such as injuries and illnesses resulting from harsh working conditions, it largely ignores the root causes of these health crises: systemic exploitation and hazardous labor practices in mining communities. These organizations receive millions in funding, but how much actually reaches the communities they serve? Let's explore the systemic issues of corruption and mismanagement. In 2020, a UN-backed review revealed that up to 30% of aid in the DRC was lost to corruption. One case, food aid meant for displaced families, was sold on black markets by NGO staff. Even USAID's 2.0 for irrigation canals in Afghanistan funded Taliban-linked poppy farms, a model critics fear could repeat in the DRC. The DRC's weak governance enables this cycle. A 2008 GAO report found U.S. programs failed to address systemic issues like abusive security forces and resource mismanagement. Today, little has changed. In some cases, NGOs have been accused of colluding with armed groups to access resources, further destabilizing the region. Meanwhile, communities remain trapped in cycles of poverty and dependency. The question remains, are these organizations part of the solution, or are they part of the problem? The DRC's crisis is not a lack of money, it's a lack of accountability. While NGOs and USAID claim progress, their failures raise urgent questions. Who benefits from billions in aid? And when will Congolese voices lead their own recovery? Demand transparency. Support local organizations. Share this video. The road to justice begins with exposing the truth. As viewers, we must ask ourselves, how can we ensure that aid reaches its intended recipients? How can we hold these organizations accountable? And what role can we play in advocating for change? Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, please share it and join the conversation. Together, we can shine a light on exploitation and work towards a brighter future for the DRC.
Thanks for watching. Have a great day.